Hi, I'm Gail Sokol and welcome to my kitchen. On a previous video, we had made a chocolate layer cake, and this is the chocolate layer cake, and it's wonderful. So before I take it out of the pan and show you some of my tricks and tips, I wanted to sort of go over with you, how do you know when a cake is done? So many people ask me that. So there are three ways to tell when a cake is done. First thing that you can see, when you bake a cake, when you put it in, the batter clings to the sides, right? Because it's fluid, it's more liquidy. You can see here it's pulled away from the sides of the pan. So that's one way to tell that it's done. The second way is to stick a knife in it. I like to stick a butter knife in it or a small sharper knife. And if you don't want to make a hole in the pan, or a hole in the cake, if you're going to frost it, you don't have to worry about it. But I just put it in once. Take it out, it should come out clean and dry. No batter should cling to it. Sometimes brownies and certain bar cookies, they'll say a few bits of batter can cling to it. In a cake, no, that's not good. You don't want that. So it should be clean. And the other thing is when you press on it, it should come right back. It should spring right back to your touch. And you don't want to really gouge it out, but just gently push, and it's done. So what I do is I take my cakes out of the pan, out of the oven, and I let them cool to warm room temperature. All right, warm, barely warm, not hot and not ice cold. A cake that is at room temperature that's barely warm will come out the best. So the first thing I do, and I'm going to show you how to remove the cake from the pan. Now let's say you're going to frost it right now. You'd have your serving platter or a turntable and you'd have it ready to go. I am not ready to frost my cake. I would like to freeze my cakes, my cake layers. So what I have is a cardboard cake circle, about the same size of the cake. So this is 9-inch, 9 or 10 inches. You can even go a little bit bigger if you wanted. And I like to cover them with foil because sometimes you'll get a little butter mark on the cardboard. So I just cover it with foil and I press down. All right, and I've done that twice for each layer. Okay. And the first thing I do is I'll take a butter knife, a clean knife, usually a butter knife. You don't want to get anything too sharp, and you want to go around the edges. Try to stay out from the cake and don't gouge the cake out. Now, if you remember, we made parchment cake circles. That was our insurance, right? We sprayed with nonstick cooking spray. We put the parchment cake circle in. We sprayed it again, and then we floured it. So this is our insurance that our cake is going to come out. So now I've gone all the way around, and I'm just going to go like that. You see some of the little bits of cake coming up? You can see it's loose, nice and loose. It's sort of jumpy and popping out. You don't want to do that too heavily, but you want to just do it a little to get that loose. And then I'm going to take my covered cake circle, and I'm going to just do abracadabra, flip it over. And you're going to take this off, okay? And it comes out perfectly. You may get a crumb or two, and that's fine. Now, if I'm going to put this in the freezer, I'm going to leave my parchment. See my parchment paper? It's still on there. I'm going to leave it on there because that is actually going to help keep moisture in. Then I'm going to cover it with plastic wrap, and then I'm going to date it, label it, and put it in my freezer. And it should keep for 3 or 4 months. So I'm going to do the same thing with the other cake. So again, we're going to cut around, trying to stay away from gouging out the cake. And again, if you're going to frost this ultimately, a little tiny gouge or a little bit of cake that comes out is going to be covered with frosting. Okay, so see how that moves very, very easily? You take your cake circle, covered cake circle, flip it over. Now, if I was going to go to someone's house and I didn't want to give them a cake plate, I just wanted to make it simple so they didn't have to return anything, clean it and return it, I would not cover this with aluminum foil or tin foil. I would just leave it plain and then flip it over and maybe put it on a larger cake circle, all right? Because they make them in all different sizes. So maybe a 12-inch one, maybe put a doily on it, and you wouldn't have to have it returned to you. That would be perfect. So you can see this is my beautiful cake, and you can see that if you cut into it, it has a very fine crumb. And that's what you'll see when you do the creaming method of mixing. So there you have it. Very easy to take these cakes out of the pan. So if you want to see how to bake this cake, go to that previous video because it's wonderful. You'll never make another chocolate cake again after you make this one. So go for more videos. Please go to my website, gailsokol.com. Until next time.